Started because my background is in law, and I thought I wanted to be an attorney until turned into a full time job and realized that that's not at all what I wanted to do with my time in my life. Was relatively young when I came to that realization and was told I needed to go find out a way to network. I was like, "What the fuck does that mean? Like, who network with who? Like what?" So I true story, Googled networking in Seattle, and there were some groups that popped up that were very specific to industry, or there were some groups that popped up that had a cost associated with it. Didn't really seem like anything that I really wanted to do, right? Like I think I told you even before this started that I'm kind of like I'm an antisocial extrovert. There's part of me that I can be very talkative. I can talk for hours with somebody about the right topics, but there's a bit of anxiety sometimes when it comes time to go inject myself into a room full of people that are energetic and want your attention. So trying to figure out, okay, what does networking look like? What does it mean? Realized really quickly there was nothing really in Seattle that made a lot of sense to me. So long story short, decided young, ambitious, like I could start something on my own. So I did, snowballed. I ended up finding my way into tech. I met a tech recruiter at one of those events for the organization. So yeah, it grew. And again, like I said, being extraordinarily curious, like why are people showing up? We were doing a monthly happy hour, and literally it was just happy hour. We intentionally said no name tags, no sales pitches, show up, have a drink. Like, why are people showing up? We're getting like 100, 150 people at per event. Like, what are you looking for? Like, how did you find us? What do you want? Like, why are you here? Right? So constantly surveying, trying to identify like, you know, one, h- why this is seemingly working. And then what is there an opportunity to provide something, right? Like, what are people actually looking for? And then, again, being curious on the corporate side, once companies started reaching out, like, "Hey, we want to sponsor." It's like, "Well, I didn't build this as a business. What do you sponsor? What? Like, what does that mean to you?" Realizing that there was a very apparent gap between individuals that were joining this organization, participating, and willingly giving their contact information to us, and the companies that were trying to integrate themselves into that community as well. And yeah, I think I am just sometimes I think problematic. Like I'm a problem solver. Like I feel like I see a problem and I want to dive into it and solve it. I want to figure it out myself. So right, like again, full time employee, but I'm also like, how do I solve this problem? There's a puzzle that can be put together, and there's a bunch of pieces that I'm identifying. Like, how do we make this work? So it really was. I mean, over time, again, doing this part time, with people, team members that would come and go, realizing that there was an opportunity to really continue to make an impact and really start identifying, like, okay, here are the people that are showing up. Why are other people not showing up? Right? Like, why are some of these events not nearly as diverse as um, I think they should be? Um, so we really started focusing on, I think, kind of around the pandemic time too. It's like, well, actually, it was largely around the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I realized that there was a problem. And the problem was that there was a lack of diversity and participation in some of the stuff that we were trying to do, right? Like we really identified, you know, earlier on that, our value to the communities that we serve is that we act as kind of a connector, as a platform to connect people, right? But then realizing that are we really connecting everybody? We have those happy hours, move all barriers to entry with the intentions of being inclusive. But if we're not intentional about what inclusivity looks like
Mm.
or what diversity looks like, and are we really servicing the community, or are we servicing a segment of the community, right? So we realized, and I think the shutdown provided a silver lining in that respect as well. We actually got to start looking at data and information, like who are we targeting, how are we targeting, who's responding, who's not responding, right? What's important to us? Do we exist just to exist, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to be intentional about the work that we're doing, especially as we're like, okay, we we want to make ourselves a 501(c)(3), and I think, well, not I think, like it largely we did that because we wanted to make sure that we were focused on community. We weren't focused on revenue. Right. 501(c)(3), we're not doing the things the companies wanted us to do. We're just like, okay, we've been bootstrapped from the very beginning. Like, it's been self-funded or we were funded by, We used to do, like, an annual anniversary party. Started to slightly do away with that because we charged ticket price for that. Didn't feel good about that after a certain point in time, especially the pandemic coming out of that. We're like, that's it's kind of exclusive, right? Like, if we're using that as fundraisers, like, we should be looking at companies that, like, really want to be part of what we're doing, to support what we're doing. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the pandemic really helped force, or I don't even think force, like, it really gave us the capacity to focus on ensuring that we were intentional with everything that we did. Every event type was intentional. Campaigns around event types were intentional, right? The end goal about everything that we did, like, developing a mission, a vision, kind of a North Star, and making sure that all of our activities align with that um, intentionality, right? Like, I think that helped us. I mean, it definitely helped us become better servants to the community and thereby, you know, better partners to the companies that truly intend on being value adds to the community, right?
So, how do you protect your community members, right? 'Cause I'm sure you got a lot of sponsor people want to sponsor, right? How do you make sure this sponsor is like? How do you vet them? Make sure they're gonna kind of scam your people. Like, how do you like do all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, like, we integrate the companies in a fairly templated fashion, right? Like, and it all is around, like, the programming that we've developed. Some of our programming templated out, right? So it's like a company wants to be a corporate member, they pay an annual fee to do so. What that gives them really, I mean, kind of, part, it's like a logo description, a link on our website.